Hello and welcome, friends. In Salesforce Management, that is unit number 5, up till now we have discussed the objectives of the Salesforce in the last session, and now we are going to discuss the structure of the Salesforce. Now, the Salesforce structure, basically, the broad structure is like this, wherein we have basically two categories of salespersons. One is the direct sales force and the other one is the contractual. Now please understand what do we mean by the direct. They are basically employee of the firm. They are on roll and they are employees of the firm and they are given regular salaries also. On the other hand, contractual sales force, they are not basically employees, they are simply agents of the firm, right? So one example of the contractual sales force could be the various life insurance using insurance agents to sell their insurance products. So you might have seen various insurance agents coming to you or maybe your parents and trying to sell some insurance policy. So they are basically contractual sales force. They are part of contractual sales force. Now, why is this distinction between direct and contractual sales force? Please understand, when you are employing direct sales force, one advantage that you will get is you will have greater control over direct sales force, plus you will have greater influence on how this particular salesperson who is part of your direct sales force interacts with your customer, and so you can ensure that it does not dupe the customer. So in that sense, you will exert greater influence over the direct sales force. However, the problem is that you will also have to pay him salary. The level of salary would be much higher, and then you will have to pay for the paid leaves, for example Sundays and holidays, so, and maybe PF and all these salary expenses would be there, and which means that to reduce your salary expenses you might want to go for contractual sales force. Now contractual sales force does not get any salary as such, but they would be paid based on how much business they are bringing to the company, right? However, the problem here would be that in case of contractual sales force, you would have much less control over how they are interacting and how they are selling the product to the customer or to the prospect. So in that sense, you will have much less control over the contractual sales force, right? As far as direct sales force are concerned, there are again two categories here. One is the inside sales force, the other one is the field sales force. Now what do we mean by the inside sales force? These would be the salespersons who would not be visiting the field, who would not be going door to door, who would not be going to the prospects or going to the customer. They would only be seated in the office or the dealership, and therein they would probably be manning the telephone lines or the counters. So those who would be manning the telephone lines, they would be making the calls, and they would be making the calls to generate leads or to qualify leads into hot or warm prospect. They might be interacting with the customer on phone whenever the customer calls up, so they might be receiving these kind of phone calls also. They might be answering the various inquiries by the customer. On the other hand, those who would be manning the counters, they would only be selling to those customers or prospects who visit the dealership or who visit the retail outlet. So they would probably not be going outside, right? On the other hand, those which are part of the field sales force, they would be going out, they would be meeting the prospect, they would be meeting the companies. If they are in B2B kind of a situation wherein they are selling to some business house, some firm, they would be going to the company, they would be making their presentations there, or they would be going to the customer prospect to make their presentations there. So they would be there in the field. So naturally there would be a lot of traveling on the part of field sales force, while the inside sales force would be manning the counters and the telephone lines only, right? Naturally this means that you will have to provide traveling allowance to the field sales force, because they would be traveling a lot also, right? So this is the broad structure that we have. Now let's talk about the Salesforce types. Basically we have got three important types which we are going to discuss in a little detail. The first type of Salesforce structure is known as product or product line structure. I hope you know what is the difference between product and product line. For example, if you talk about, just to give you an example of what product and product line is, if you talk about Tata Motors, they have various models in the market. I'll give you an example of an earlier model. They used to have Indica and Indigo. So these are different models. So product is basically Indigo or Indica or the various other brands that they have which they are selling in the market. Now what is product line? Product line is basically they are into cars also, they sell cars also, passenger vehicles also, and then they are selling commercial vehicles also. So for example, they are selling buses. Now commercial vehicle is one product line, and the passenger vehicles within which we have got different cars and SUVs, this is another product line. So this is the difference between product and product line. So a product line comprises of a number of products, right? So, and why do we have product line? Product line, basically you go for product lines when you have a number of products, so they become too many for you to manage them well. So what do? We actually group them into different product lines. I'll give you another example of HUL. HUL has got one particular product line which is known as hair care, within which they have their different brands of shampoo and hair oil and such stuff. Likewise, they have a particular product line which is known as toiletries, wherein they have different brands of products, different brands of products like soaps. For example, they have got the Lux, they've got the Lifebuoy and Rexona, so they are part of the same product line, toiletries, right? So this is another example, and I hope now this is clear to you. Again, the second kind of structure is the market-based structure, and the third kind of structure is the territorial area or geographical structure, right? So we'll be discussing these three structures in a little detail. However, you should understand that depending on the situations in the market, there could be complex structures also. For example, there could be a combination of various structures, like you can have a mix of territory as well as product, you can have a mix of product as well as market. So these kind of combinations also are there. Now let's talk about the product or product line structure. So product structure, when you will have only few products, you will go for product structure. But if you have a number of products, say 20-25 different products, so rather than trying to manage 25 different products, you will group them into different product lines, and then you would be managing the product line. So that would become the product line structure. Now this is the product or product line structure, wherein we have basically the structure based on the product or product line. See, for example, here the divisional head for home appliances is different from the divisional head for mobile phones. Is this okay? And within home appliance, we have got three different product lines. One is TV and home theater, the other one is washing machine and dishwashers, and the other one is cooling appliances, which means ACs and refrigerators. So these are the different product lines that we have. Now the sales force division has been structured based on the product line. So now what does this mean? This means that divisional head of home appliances would only be taking care of these three product lines. He would be reported by these managers who are taking care of these individual product lines, and they would be responsible for selling these product lines across the country and across different customer groups. They would be selling to retail customers also, to business customers also. They would be selling in UP also, Jammu Kashmir also, and Tamil Nadu also, right? Likewise, we will have divisional head for mobile phone. This is another product line. Now this person would be responsible for sales of only and only mobile phones across the country, including in Tamil Nadu, UP and J&K. And plus, he would be selling to different customer groups, including the rural customers and the urban customers, the business customers, B2B market, and the retail customers, B2C market, right? So this is how a product or product line structure looks like. Let us understand where you require such kind of structures. Number one, when the item that you are trying to sell is technologically very complicated, which means that if you want to be selling a particular item which is very complicated technologically, you need to have significant amount of information about that, and you need to specialize in that particular item. You should know about that item in and out. You should have thorough knowledge of this particular item. And that is only possible when you are selling only this particular item and not other items. So for example, in case of home appliances, if you are selling TV, washing machine, or for example ACs, you need to know about these products thoroughly well, because if you do not, then the customer may not be convinced by your sales appeal. Is this okay? Again, this means that if you are specializing in home appliances, you probably would not be able to specialize in mobile phones, and that is why we have got this categorization. So if you want to specialize in home appliances, you gather knowledge about these products, and if you are member of the mobile phones division, then you are only going to sell mobile phones and you should know about these products only. So as I said, technologically complex items, in such cases we go for product or product line structure, and wherein the salesperson should know the product thoroughly well, right? Again, when you have got numerous product lines, then asking one particular salesperson to sell all the different kinds of product that you have is going to be very, very difficult. Think of a Tata Motors salesperson, supposing. They simply would not be able to sell all the different types of products, all the different types of product line that the Tata Motors has. So then what you do, you again group the products into different product lines, and then you assign one product line only to a particular salesperson. So he does not have to sell other unrelated products, right? He only has to sell the products which are there in that product line and which are very much similar to each other, right? For example, if you look at these two products, TV and home theater. So it is the television set, and this is the bigger size replica wherein you create theater kind of a setting inside your home. So they are both products which are technologically very similar, and if a particular salesperson has considerable idea about television selling, they can also sell the home theaters, right? So in such cases, we'll go for product or product line structure. So as I said, numerous product lines, and when the products are highly unrelated. Then let's talk about the market-based structure. Now what do we mean by market-based structure? Please understand, market-based structure is same as customer-based structure, which means you would be structuring your Salesforce division according to the different customer segments that you have there in the market. So for example, now we have taken example of a bank. So the director of the loan division, advances, curse, credit. Now that particular individual will be reported by two people. The divisional head would be reporting to him, and divisional head industrial loans and divisional head retail loans. Now what is the difference between the two? Industrial loans is the B2B kind of a situation when you are selling to some industries. So you are basically providing credit to big industries. Naturally, the credit amount would be much higher. It could be upwards of 5 crore, 10 crores. It could even go to 2,000, 3,000 crores. On the other hand, retail loans are being offered to retail customers. The amount of loan would be much less. It could be maybe 50,000, 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 5 lakhs. It hardly would be above 2 crores or 5 crores, right? So this would be the divisional head of industrial loans, and this would be divisional head of retail loans. Please understand, these are two different customer segments. Here we are basically dealing with the retail customers, people like us. For example, when we go and ask for a car loan or ask for an education loan, these are all examples of retail loans. On the other hand, if a particular industry wants to expand, they want to set up another plant, or they want to expand their production, they go for loans. These would be called industrial loans, right? So these are two basically different customer segments, and that is why we have got the structure along these lines, and we have got two different divisional heads taking care of the two different customer segments. One is taking care of the industrial loans, the other one is taking care of the retail loans. Now within industrial loan also we have basically different types of industries. We have the micro, small and medium enterprises, and plus we have the large scale industries. So again, there is another division based on that. And please understand, these are again, MSMEs is a different customer segment and large scale industries is a different customer segment within the same broad industrial loan category. So we are basically making the structure according to the customer segments that we have, and that is why this is known as market based structure or customer based structure also, or customer segment based structure also. Now where do we use them? When you need to have separate sales force for different customer groups. So naturally the sales force for retail loans is different. For those who want industrial loans, industries, the sales force is different. And when you want your sales force to have good knowledge of the customer, so when you want your sales force to have good knowledge of your customer, then you go for market based structures. So herein, please understand, the one who is taking care of loaning to large scale industries, that particular manager will have significant knowledge about large scale industries. He should know about large scale industries and what is it that they require. Then only he'll be able to sell the loan products to such customers. Again, now there would be a problem with market based structure, customer based structure, and the problem would be that the customers are scattered, and which means there would be a lot of traveling on the part of the salesperson. What do we mean by this? Supposing you are the manager of large scale industrial financing and you are basically trying to sell loan products to large scale industries, but please understand, large scale industries are there in the Sitkul area of Uttarakhand also. Then there are large scale industries in the Delhi, Noida and Okhla area. Then there are large scale industries around Lucknow also, and then there are large scale industries in Tamil Nadu, Chennai also. So a salesperson who is catering to large scale industries, so he'll have to probably be selling to all these customers who are scattered across the country, which means there would be a lot of problem in the sense that the salesperson would have to travel a lot, and the traveling allowance would be much higher for such salespersons. So this is one basic problem with the market based structure or the customer based structure. Now let us move over to the territorial structure. What do we mean by a territory? Territory means a particular area, a particular geography, and that is what we mean by the territorial structure. The structure is decided based on areas. So the whole country is divided into different territories, and then a particular salesperson would be taking care of a particular territory, and he would be selling all kind of products to all kind of customers in that particular territory. So here we have got director sales, and then we have got zonal manager North India. So he'll be responsible for making the sales across the North India only. Then within that zonal manager there are four subordinates. One is regional manager for Uttarakhand and UP. Then we have got regional manager for Jammu Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh, Punjab and Haryana and Delhi. So now please understand, this regional manager for Uttarakhand and West UP would be responsible for selling the product only in this particular territory, and he would be selling to all customer segments. Now contrast this with what happened with market based structure. In market based structure there were different salesperson for two different segments in the same area. For example, if Pantnagar or Rudapur or Sitkul area in Uttarakhand has got retail customers also and industrial customers also, so there would be two salesperson dealing with, one of them would be dealing with the retail customers and the other one would be dealing with the industrial customers. On the other hand, what will happen here, that the regional manager of Uttarakhand and West UP would be taking care of both the retail customers as well as the corporate customers or the industrial customers in this particular area. This is fine, and plus he would be selling to all customer groups and he would be selling all kind of product lines. Contrast this with what happened a little while ago, product structure. So for example, if a particular manager is taking care of TV, he would be responsible for selling TV in Rudapur also, and there would be some other person who would be dealing with washing machines being sold in Rudapur, right? So there would be two different persons selling television and washing machines in Rudapur, right? Now on the other hand, what will happen here, have a look here, this regional manager would be taking care of both the things, television as well as washing machines in Rudapur area, because he's in charge of the whole territory and he's selling all kinds of products, all product lines to all kind of customers here. So this is the broad difference between what a territorial structure is and what are the different structures apart from the territorial structure that we have studied, right? So this is an example of territorial structure. So now let us talk a little bit about the attributes of this particular structure. Sales force is assigned to particular areas, as I have already explained, and territories are designed in a manner so that the workload is equalized, the potential is equalized. What do we mean by potential? Potential is how much can you sell in a particular territory or in a particular area. So that is what we mean by potential. So territories are designed in a particular manner so that the workload and the potential is equal across different territories. Let's take an example of Uttarakhand and West UP. Why have they been clubbed, and why Delhi just a small union territory in terms of its area? It's a different category, it's a different territory. On the other hand, we have got J&K and HP as the same territory, and Punjab and Haryana again same territory, and though their area is much more than Delhi. Why? Because here the potential is much more, because the population is much more. If you take a rough estimate, you will find that Delhi's population is around 2 crores, while Uttarakhand alone is just 1 crore. And that is why what we have done is we have clubbed it in a manner so that we can equalize the potential. So now Uttarakhand and West UP, the potential would be almost same as the potential of Delhi, because the number of customers would be almost the same. So this is how you have to design the territories as far as the territorial Salesforce structure is concerned. Now let's talk a little bit about the Salesforce size, and this would be the last slide in this particular session. See, how do you determine the size of the Salesforce? We'll have to do some calculations. I have shown you these calculations here, so you'll have to be with me for the next 5 minutes so that you can understand these calculations. Now please understand, customers are grouped into different categories as per their annual purchase volume. So what I've done is, there are 3 categories of customer. First category is called A, and it purchases around 100 units in a particular year, while the second category, they don't purchase in that much numbers. They only purchase 30 units in a year, while in C, we have got those kind of customers who purchase just 10 units in a particular year, right? Now, we have to decide what is the sales call frequency for each of these categories. For the first category, since they are purchasing in bulk and they are heavy users of our product, we will have to call them up on an average 9 calls per year. On the other hand, B has to be called up 3 times. What do we mean by sales call? Visiting the prospect or visiting the customer to give him a presentation about your product and try to convince him about buying your product. So that is what we know as the sales call. Now B, 3 calls only, and C, only 1 call per year, because in any case they are buying only in small quantities, only 10 units of your product in a particular year. Now we'll have to basically calculate in the third step the total workload, right? So we are skipping this particular step. I'll explain why. So the total calls that have to be made, total sales calls, which means the salesperson visiting the customer or the prospect. Now please understand, A category 100 units they were purchasing, and for every single unit you have to make 9 calls. So for selling 100 units you'll have to make how many calls? 900 calls. Here in case of B, 30 units, for every call, for every unit you have to make 3 calls. So that makes it 30 into 3 calls in a particular year. And likewise C, purchasing 10 units, for every single unit they want a minimum of 1 call per year. So then you have to do this calculation, 10, and this will give you the total calls to be made as 1000. So this is the total number of calls that have to be made, 1000. Now this is the total workload, and now we know, let's come back to third step now, which I had skipped a little while ago. Average number of sales calls that a particular salesperson can make is just 100, but you have to make how many? You have to make 1000. So naturally you would need how many? You would need 10 salesperson, and this is how you decide the size of your sales force. This was a very simplistic kind of an example. However, the real situation might be a little more complicated, but this is how broadly we determine the appropriate sales force size for our organization. Thank you very much for your time.